Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the CDL podcast channel. In this episode today, we are going to be going over some brief news, probably the shortest news we've had in the last few months, not much to talk about. And then we're going to dive right into the matches from the past weekend, the final weekend of qualifier matches for Major 1. And then we are going to give our predictions, kind of a little bit of a different form of giving our predictions this week in a minute here. We'll talk about the chaotic week both Brock and I have ahead. As well as just the odd format. The CDL doesn't have the bracket up on the site for Major 1 in terms to do like an actual interactive pick'em. So just a weird situation with both our lives and how busy we are this week and then the majors. So we're going to talk about brief predictions for the major, maybe not as in-depth as you'll see later in the year for the rest of them when we have a full fleshed out bracket and everything. But yeah, lots to dive into today, talking about matches and then talking predictions. But before we get into any of that, Brock, how you doing today?
Oh, we're doing very, very great on this Monday, actually. Work flew by, I'm not gonna lie, so that's good. That's always good. I did watch some more matches this week, believe it or not, than last week, so I have more to talk about this week than last week.
Yeah, same. I was able to get a lot more time to watch matches, even though it's been a hectic week, and we'll talk about that quick before we get into everything. Both Brock and I are moving this week, especially me. I'm getting everything out of the place I'm currently in and moving it mostly all tomorrow and Wednesday. And then right away on Thursday or Friday, I'm leaving instantly to go to Minnesota this weekend. I'm going to the Vikings-Colts game. So if you guys are newer, I'm a Colts fan. It's pain this year. They suck. But I got these tickets in August before the season started thinking that it would be two good teams playing at the end of the year. It's definitely not. But so I'm headed there. So I'm basically moving the whole week up until I leave for Minnesota. So it's a hectic week. I'm going to be able to catch some matches on Friday, probably not a lot on Saturday because the game is at noon on Saturday. And then I'll be home like Saturday night. So I'll be able to catch everything. I'll take in all of Championship Sunday at least. So it's a chaotic week. That's why we can't wait for Wednesday for the Thieves Ravens match to be completed because my PC will be getting moved. Like everything will be chaotic. We won't be able to record basically after tonight.
Yeah.
Until next week. So we got to do it today. Unfortunately, we can't wait to see how the Thieves Ravens match turns out or the Challenger matches on Wednesday. I think they're being played. Yep. We can't wait to see how those turn out because it's just a chaotic week. So sorry that we're not able to actually like do a full-fledged prediction based on the Challenger teams that are in the bracket and stuff. But we're doing the best we can to at least get an episode out this week.
Yep, definitely.
All right. News we got to talk about. It's super brief this week. Definitely the shortest week of news we have. First thing, this happened obviously like last week, but it happened just after we recorded. The M4 got GA'd. I think it's a good thing. It was obviously a very good gun. Every gun in this game, or most guns in this game, feel very good because of how fast time to kill is. But brief stats, they're using, I guess, I want to just call it the SCAR because that's what it is, but it's called the TAC. Technically, they've been using that SCAR. And in week 1 with the M4, about 71.6% of the kills in the game were from the M4, 24.4% were from the Vaznev, and then only 4% was everything else, like kill streaks, nades, that stuff. And then this week with the SCAR had 58% of the kills, so about a 13.5% drop in AR kills, 38% to the Vaznev, so again, about a 14-15% increase in sub kills, and then 3.8% to everything else, like streaks, nades, all that. So we did see a more balanced meta this week.
Yeah, definitely. The TAC is like M4 is more the do it all. Up close it fries, and you can see the difference this week with the TAC where it doesn't up close it doesn't fry as much, but long range it fries.
Which, yeah, I mean, to me that's perfect because when I think of an AR, I want it to be a gun that has the clear advantage in like the long range fights and even the mid range fights, but I want the sub to have the clear advantage in those tight quarters, close combat lanes. Yep. And with the M4, it basically had the advantage in all of them.
Yeah, literally do it all gun.
Yeah, and like it's a fun thing to use, but like in terms of watching, like I don't want to just watch all the M4s dominate and the subs be in hell. And personally, like when it comes down to a meta, I'd rather have a 3 sub meta. I don't think we'll ever get that in this game unless a lot more GAs go down. But like personally, I'd rather have a 3 sub meta as opposed to 3 AR meta. I think it's a little more fun to watch. Gameplay's a little faster.
Definitely.
But I like to see the balance going in the correct direction. I don't know. It's never going to be like 50-50 because it's a lot of times depending on the amount of the guns being used. Like there's still a lot of 3 AR maps. So like obviously the AR is probably going to get a higher percentage of the kills.
Mm-hmm.
But we like to see it trending in more of a 50-50 direction instead of almost a 75-25 direction.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see a flex gun being put into the game eventually, but I don't know if that will actually happen.
It's just so much tougher with 4 players compared to 5. I feel like the Maddox, as long as as well as the 5-player like team size in BO4 just created
Mm-hmm.
like the perfect storm for there
Yeah,
to be a flex gun. Where like I mean we only
yeah.
saw the 2 years of 5-player teams. I think it's a good thing that they're gone, but like in MW, there wasn't really, it was just M4s and MP5s. But I don't know, Black Ops 4 was just like the perfect storm because it was like the ICR was super good, but you didn't really want much more than 1 on a map. I mean, sometimes on certain maps you wanted 2, and then like the SOG was that good sub, but with like the Maddox being so good and having 5 players, you could like throw 2 guys in the middle. I don't know. I just like feel like that was like the perfect
It
storm
was
for a
too
flex
good.
gun.
It was too good to be true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of had it a little bit though in like IW. The NV4 was kind of like the ICR, like a main like steady AR. Then the K bar,
Yep.
it's kind of like a Maddox flex weapon, and then like the ERADs towards the end of the year were the subs. So like, I guess there's a bit of a flex weapon in there, so it's possible in 4s,
Yeah, it's possible, but I don't know if he'll get it in this game.
especially because like a gun like that in this game would be so OP. Basically,
Mm-hmm.
the M4. That's basically what it would be,
Yeah.
or like
With
the
some,
74U,
yeah, definitely.
and that gun is rightfully G8 in my opinion because that gun's broken. That's probably the best gun in the game.
That the little I've used it,
If
definitely
that, I mean, if that
felt
was
really
allowed, they'd
good.
probably run 4 of them
Yeah, definitely.
because that gun is broken.
Even
So
though it's
I don't know.
even though it's an AR, it's like a sub basically.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I would love to see. I would personally like my favorite meta if they could do it every year would be to have like a slower main AR that's like beams from range, but is pretty bad up close. A
Mm-hmm.
perfect in between gun that like your best player utilizes, where like it's very good at mid range and also can beam you from long range, and can kill up close, and then 2 like traditional subs. I mean, I think that's the most fun meta to watch, and it creates like an actual unique role for the flex. But like I think it's a rare thing that takes a perfect storm of a game to have it in there.
Yeah, it's probably not this game, unfortunately.
No. Then we had week 2 for viewership wise. It actually peaked at about 150K for OpTic versus Thieves, which I mean is pretty good. And then also actually no, 150K was OpTic Ravens. I'm sorry, I'm wrong.
Oh, was
Uh,
it?
then 142K about was OpTic Thieves, and then the Ultra and Surge match hit about 110. And the
Mm-hmm.
viewership was overall like down from week 1, which you'd expect. But it was still much higher than like typical qualifiers, which is really good to see. Hopefully, we see that trend continue, where it at least stays pretty high up there in viewership.
Yeah, hopefully.
It was good to see it still like peaking over 100K on multiple matches, and also good to see it going over 100K on a match that OpTic wasn't playing in,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm
and
just
no
gonna.
Thieves or Faze in that match.
What one was that one actually?
It was Ultra Surge.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good matchup. But like you'd figure if it's no OpTic, it'd probably be Faze or Thieves, 2 other like big orgs.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked with 150K for the peak for Optic and Ravens.
Yeah, I honestly like I saw that was the peak in OpTic, and I just kind of figured it was Thieves. I guess it makes sense maybe because it went map 5.
Yeah,
So like
that does make
yeah, that
sense.
makes a little bit of sense there. Maybe that's the reason, but still kind of shocking. Like you would figure it'd just be OpTic Thieves.
Mm-hmm. But you love to see the viewers.
Yep. Then we had last thing already with news tiebreaker match to be played on Wednesday between LA Thieves and London Royal Ravens. The winner of the match goes to the group with Boston and Vegas, and the loser goes to Seattle and FaZe. Kind of good that's that way because I feel like the winner probably like they probably both want to go to the Boston and Vegas group.
Mm-hmm.
Because Seattle has looked bad, but still like Seattle and FaZe are not teams that I want to be placed in a group with really.
Yeah,
Especially
that'd be
because only 2 teams can make it out. But they play on Wednesday. Obviously, like we said, we're gonna, as we get to predictions, make a decision on who we say is gonna win that, and just make our predictions based off that. Because our hectic week, we don't have a chance to record after that match, so we just kind of have to roll with a prediction and hope that we're right.
hopefully it hits. Yeah.
Um, we got matches to react to, Brock, and then predictions. So, like we said, short news. Um,
Yes, we
didn't
do.
mention it. Didn't mention it at the beginning, but if you guys enjoy this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. Drop a follow, drop a 5-star review on the audio platforms. We were at about last time I saw like 797, 798 subscribers. We're right on the cusp of 800. So you could help us hit it with this video. That would be great. And yeah, we appreciate the support, and the support has been going crazy since the season started. So we really appreciate that. Let's get into talking about some of these matches from this past weekend.
All right, let's get into it.
We got a little more time to spend on it this week because we didn't have so much news, and this kind of the groove we'll probably get into for a lot of the regular season until we start to hit that period of roster rumors.
Yep.
In terms of our predictions, we can just mention our points from last week before we talk about the matches, because we're not going to be doing points and everything. We don't have individual matches to predict for the major, but I ended up coming back and beating you in predictions. I was down 6 points in our confidence point scale. I got all the way up. I was -9 week 1, and I got 9 points in week 2. So I ended up with a fat even 0. You were -3 week 1, and you did better this week with a 0 in terms of your point scale.
Yeah.
For a -3, honestly, you got your 8-point confidence pick one wrong. So the fact that you ended up at a 0 on the week is honestly pretty good, because you got -8 for picking LAG
I'll take
over
that.
myself. Thing that really helped me is I got a lot of correct map counts. I predicted like 33% of the matches correct with the right map counts this weekend.
Mhm.
And also I got Faze 3-0 over Vegas with 8 points. Right. So I got the max points of 9
That was
on
a
that
hefty
one.
one.
Yeah, but that was really the swing. You got -8 for the LAG, and I got +9 for the Faze. That was damn near a 17-point swing there.
Yeah.
So that helped me come back on you. But I ended up winning the predictions for the first round, a little comeback. We
For
can
now.
maybe do like a little more. Yeah, we could do a little more like detailed stuff, like based on our points on like the majors when they finally have brackets on the CDL site. But
Yeah.
let's dive into some reactions to these matches. Just kind of go in order of the way they happened. First one, Surge versus Ravens, kind of individual matches, overall takeaways from it. Surge take down the Ravens 3-1. Sib and Pred show. They look very good. Accuracy has a pretty steady series for him. And Seattle looks good. They dominate the map 1 hardpoint. They take 2 hardpoints in this. They lose a search and destroy again, though, which, like, to me, this whole weekend as a whole, it's Seattle's search is very concerning.
Yeah, their Surge.
They're really bad.
They need to get together if they want to be a championship team.
Which, like, shocks me, though, right? Like, I don't feel like they should be bad at search. They were pretty good at it last year.
Yeah, they were.
Same roster.
I don't know. Maybe just the new game woes or something.
And like, I don't know, like maybe you disagree with this. I don't know, like viewers out there listening, maybe you can like comment on this. But like to me, when I think in my head, like logically, it makes sense that like if a team sticks together from a previous title early in the year, I feel like they should be one of the better search teams.
That would
like,
definitely make sense.
Like Asim and Zero have played together in Black Ops 4. Like Nasty and Zero obviously have the chem from last year. Paul has played with both these players. Like there's definitely chemistry on this London team. Like they have players that have history together, but like this Surge team went through an entire season together.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you would think early on in Search they would know how to play off each other a little more, and like they would be a little better, but they've been abysmal in Search and one of the worst Search teams. They can't figure it out, and they're honestly pretty good at respawn.
Yeah,
and they won the series through 3 respawns, but like it's just weird to me. I feel like teams that carry over the roster should ideally be better in Search at the beginning of the year as other teams figure out how to play with each other.
Yeah, I agree, but
it ain't the way it works so far for them.
Yeah, maybe some of the players don't like the game as much. So I
Could be. We see kind of like not this series, but like overall in the weekend, we see some flashes of like Sib really struggle. But once again, like I remember who their second match was against. It was against who was it? Ultra. I remember in the hardpoint that they did win, like Sib was like double negative, but had like a crucial 2-piece basically to win them the map on a break, which is like the whole we talk about it all the time, but like how KD is only part of the story. Like Sib ended up going like 17 and 30 or whatever on that map, but without his 2-piece, they don't win the game. So like sometimes it isn't always about the KD, but like you got to get the kills that matter. He did that later on, but I don't know.
The important kills do matter.
Maybe on land they get better at search and then they dominate, because I still feel like every respawn for this team, I feel pretty confident.
Yeah.
But if they lose a map 1, yikes, watch out.
Yeah, because that map 2 is like, they're not doing great at it.
Yeah, the map 2 is almost like a locked-in loss. So if they lose map 1, they have to reverse sweep.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't like that. But London, a little shaky. I mean, they played the second hard point pretty competitive, and they play the control pretty competitive. But like, yikes, they get dominated in that hard point. They win a search against a bad search team. I still like think that they're a decent dark horse candidate to maybe pull off an upset at the major, but I don't see them doing anything crazy.
Yeah, I also agree with Dark Horse, but when it matters most, they'll most likely fold.
Yeah, I mean, a decent amount of experience on the team, but also like I feel like before we move on, we got to talk about Asim a little bit. That guy, it seems like every year he does this the last couple of years, but he has been dominating for that team. He's been their best player, and he was the same way early last year. He was very good, and like Slasher called him their best player at Major 2 when they were able to win it last year for LAG, and like
Yeah,
Asim looks incredible again. It's so funny to me that this guy keeps bouncing around to teams because eventually you'd think somebody would realize how much value he brings to a team and make him stick, but he just hasn't been able to stick onto a team for whatever reason.
usually he's like really good at the start, couple majors, then towards the end of the year he like falls off a little bit more and more.
Yeah, he does have some inconsistencies, but like man, when he is at his peak, he's a very irreplaceable player on a team to me because like the things he does in the map are things that not a lot of people do. It's
Yeah,
very dirty work, and like he's willing to
hits the
do it
routes.
all. Like he would rather go 20 and 30 and make the crucial play and win the map than go 30 and 20. Like some players are just out there trying to fry, and like Asim literally
Yeah,
doesn't care. If he has to go 5 and 30 to win a map, he'll do it.
yeah, he'll do basically anything you need him to do. Sit in the hill for 3 minutes.
Yeah. So I like him a lot. Next match that we had though was Rocker versus Florida. Kind of a dominating performance from the Rocker following that map. One attach and afro show 1.38, 1.39, Cammy at a 1.32. Overall, Major Maniac really struggled in the series. Very low damage output out of him. Same with Havoc. They both dropped 0.65s.
Yeah,
Very low damage output out of them. To
not gonna win
me,
much with those two
yeah.
dropping 0.65s.
And like to me, this was just a classic case of like what I thought and believe you agreed with on Florida is like this roster is going to hit a talent deficit when it faces some top teams. It's just kind of a fact of it. They're going to face a talent deficit. Now we're going to say this, and then later on we're going to talk about how they took out Thieves. So
Yeah,
like,
that was very creative.
yeah, I mean it's early on in the year, like things are going to happen, but like to me this was just a case of Rocker being that dominant team talent wise that we believe they can be versus a team that we maybe think is maybe lower on the scale of talent.
Definitely overpowering
And
Mutineers.
Mutineers have looked pretty good in search in that first week. Granted, like we said, when we say a team looks pretty good in a certain game mode or pretty bad in a certain game mode, it's such a small sample size right now that by the end of the weekend we could be saying that Surge is one of the best search teams by the end of the weekend. Who knows? Because it's just such a small sample size right now. But Minnesota looked very good in search and destroy against a team like Florida that was pretty good in the first weekend. Like we thought Florida was one of the better search teams.
Yeah, it's
And
definitely
Minnesota kind of took it to them on hotel.
yeah. I don't know. I falls on the Major Maniac. He didn't have a best of the series, so they got whopped.
Yeah, and I mean like in the map for Hardpoint when you've got Afro dropping a 1.61 and Cameo 1.4, and then like more of your players that are supposed to be like your big slayers, Havoc and Vickle. I mean, Havoc maybe not necessarily supposed to be a big slayer, but he's a sub. Like he's got to be playing pretty well. I mean, he was double negative and Vickle was at a 0.8, and that map 4, like you're gonna need some more slaying power out of them.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, Havoc like significantly lower damage to me. Like a lot of times, you can tell a lot more about a match looking at the damage than the KD. And I mean, Havoc was far below everybody else in the lobby in damage on this map.
Yeah, gonna need more of those two if they want to get anywhere.
Yeah, although overall, Vickle has impressed me in like this first set of matches. He hasn't been bad.
Yeah, he actually hasn't, and Brack's been pretty good actually.
Yeah, he has been pretty good.
Which I thought he would be doing a little bit worse, but good for him.
He was a solid player in BO4, and then he just wasn't in the league anymore. So we haven't seen him in so long.
He's like disappeared for a couple of years.
Yeah,
I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
Brock, then we got your match that you put your 8 confidence points on. Speaking of dominance, I don't even have that much in this series because New York stomped LAG in this series.
Yeah, it was
specifically in the respawns. The search was a pretty close match, but like also if you look at the search in terms of the kills and deaths and damage and everything, it like doesn't even make sense how it went to around 11.
Yeah, they're all both.
They all kind of got fried 7 and 8, 5 and 8, 7 and 9, 4 and 9. We're on the side of New York 7 and 5, 8 and 6, 12 and 5, 7 and 7, and they were just pulling off punches.
That means That means gorillas are getting the important kills when it matters in search.
Yeah, man down, clutching up.
Yeah. Jesus, they did get mile up though. Holy crap.
Yeah. But it was more like the reason that it looked so lopsided in terms of KDs is because the respawns were pretty dominant for New York. They won by 120 in the map one hardpoint, and they 3-0'd them in the control. These guys went 19-7 in the control. I mean,
jeez, yes, guys showed up. That's for sure.
Confusing. LAG is a confusing team to me because then obviously later in the week they go out and they beat a Boston team that I think both of us would agree. I mean, Boston went 0-2, but I think we both agree. Boston, we think they're a pretty good team.
Yeah.
So like the fact that LAG and like, do you think New York going into this weekend was a great team? I didn't.
I definitely did not either.
So like they got dominated by New York, who we didn't consider a great team, and they beat Boston pretty handily, who we would consider like I would think a pretty good team.
Yeah, like top 5, top 6.
Yeah, so like confusing series, but that's kind of how the early portion of the COD season is.
Very confusing.
I'm not ready to like write off LAG after a series like this, but like I think we're going to see a lot of this from LAG. I think we're going to see a lot of series where they get dominated and then they randomly bounce back. And I kind of think this was a case of two teams that are figuring out their identity, especially like obviously every team is figuring out their identity right now. It's early in the year, but like these are two teams specifically that like I think everybody thinks like their ceiling is top 4 and their floor could be pretty darn low. Like,
yeah, it's like top 4 or less. It could be like,
I mean, these teams both have talent to be like at the top contending for major wins, and I think there's also a world where they're in the bottom 4 not making champs for both these teams. Like they have a very wide variety of what can happen. I think that's kind of what we saw. I think we saw Subliners peak and LA Gorillas floor in the series.
Yeah, they've definitely floored. No one above a point, not even a 0.9, 0.8. I mean,
rough series. And the final match on Friday was Toronto versus Faze, a match we were looking forward to. I remember in the podcast and the predictions, I talked about how Toronto had really struggled in the matchup, even though like it didn't feel like it. I believe it was Miles on the broadcast. I heard him say that Toronto as a franchise was on a 10-match losing streak to Faze heading into this one. So like I don't know. That's absurd though, isn't it? Like it felt like this was always a really competitive match dating back to like Cold War and Vanguard, right?
Yeah, it's like competitive, but it's like 3-1, 3-2.
Yeah, but clearly FaZe was dominating because you don't just accidentally get 10 wins in a row against a team.
Yeah, against a good team. And
like through Vanguard and Cold War, Toronto's roster is basically the same from like early Cold War on when they dropped Zinni.
Yeah.
And obviously FaZe's roster was the same through those two titles. So that old roster of FaZe dominated, but Toronto pulls it out this time.
3-2 comeback.
Yeah. They come back, win it 3-2. I don't know. They probably should have won this in 4. They blew that lead, or they didn't blow the lead, but Kleenex dropped that map 4 is when he dropped 7. Or no, was it map 1? Yeah, map 1 when he dropped the 7. Doug 7.
It was still competitive, like 230, 250 to 230.
Yeah, Cellium and Slash were piecing on that map. I was watching that one. They were piecing pretty well. I will say one thing with this match, like when I look at it, I don't want to take anything away from Ultra because they played very well. I think that going into this next major, they have to be one of your favorites to win it. They are 3-1, one of the best records. It just took out FaZe, who we believe obviously is still a good team. I think a positive for Ultra was they were able to be very competitive in the hardpoints, and like even if FaZe is not playing well, I think we all believe that they're going to be a very good hardpoint team just because like, hello, Simp, Abezy, Cellium, Slasher, like they're going to fry you.
Yeah.
They're not going to ever have an issue to get kills. So like we believe they're going to be a pretty good hardpoint team. I think it was a good confidence builder for Ultra to be able to Neslo them though, win both searches into control, and then keep the hardpoints very close.
Yeah. Like
if Kleenex doesn't have 7 in map 1, they probably could win it. If he has an average map.
Yeah, if he has like a 0.9, they probably 3-0 low key.
I mean, in both hardpoints. Like he struggled in the second hardpoint too. He went 16 and 24, 0.6. He had like no damage on the map. Like if Kleenex has his average map on both those, they probably 3-0 him, or I guess in this case they would have won both hardpoints.
Yeah. But it is pretty good for Toronto because if Kleenex just goes like a 0.9, they could win the whole thing.
Yeah, and we know Kleenex is not always going to have 0.9. Like he's going to have some games where he takes over because that's what Kleenex does.
He is inconsistent at times, but most of the time he's usually more consistent than not.
Well, and you kind of know this with Kleenex as a player. Like you, part of having Kleenex in your roster is like he has a lot more ups and downs. There's a reason he's a top tier sub every year. But like you kind of know with Kleenex as a player, he does have those series occasionally where he really struggles. He's sometimes inconsistent. So like you take the good with the bad. Like every once in a while he's gonna have series like this, but like trust me, he's gonna have more where he wins you a series than he loses
Hmm.
you one. And
Yeah,
this time he didn't even lose in the series. It still ended up winning.
yeah. Played bad. He probably admitted it himself, but still got the W at the end of the
Yeah.
day.
0.65 overall. In terms of Faze, though, the one thing I will say is it's going to take a lot longer, and people might get annoyed with it. But I think for both of us, it's going to take a lot longer than any team for us to ever talk negatively or hit the panic button on Faze because they're just always so good.
Yeah.
It's like the positive I can take away for Faze in this series, also a negative if you want to say it that way, is Simp and Abezy not great. Both of them below 0.9, Abezy almost below 0.7. But like, how often do you think we're going to say Simp had a 0.86 and Abezy had a 0.7 in a series?
Not that much, I would say.
Yeah.
It's
And Abezy also having the lowest damage on his team, second lowest in the lobby.
yeah. He would probably won't
Simp,
do that again.
I mean, Simp being the second lowest on his team as well, and third lowest in the lobby uh ahead of Abezy and Kleenex. Like, I don't think we're gonna be talking about Simp and Abezy playing that poorly as they did this series, and they still, like I said, almost came out with a W in the series. Like it went to a
Yeah.
map 5.
They both played poorly, and they did almost come up with a dub.
Yeah, so like hard to panic for them. But once again, even though we think a lot of things went wrong for the side of Faze, Toronto was the one that got the win. So we got to give them credit because they're looking like one of the potential favorites for this next major.
Good for snapping that 10-game losing streak too
Yeah,
against FaZe.
get the monkey off their back early because you never know. Like sometimes they'll get in the back of your head, like, man, we can't beat this team. But now could turn into a thing like we saw with OpTic. Like everybody said, OpTic couldn't beat Faze at all, and then
Hmm.
early last year they beat them, and then obviously like it didn't end up continuing the whole year. But for like a good stretch of the year last year, OpTic just wouldn't lose to Faze no matter who was playing at the time.
Yeah, it was like I think it was like 5 in a row last
Yeah,
year.
and like one of them was with Pro Loot, and one of them was with General, and like
Yeah,
a few of them were with Illy, like crazy dominance. So that's good
just
for all
had the
true get
number
that
for a
early win.
while. Yeah, definitely.
Then FaZe was able to bounce back right away on Saturday. They played the first match versus Legion. They 3-0'd them.
It
Talk
was
about
like
dominant. This
it was
series was
like
like,
30 minutes.
yeah, it was dominant. I mean, they won the hardpoint 250 to 207, and that was probably a closer scoreline than it should have been. Temp was kind of playing hero ball.
Yeah.
TJ got cooked. I mean, if you look at TJ, it's kind of funny, 18 and 19, but he had 1300 damage only. He was just picking up guys that were one shot. And then it was a 6-0 search and a 3-0 control. So they literally Legion didn't win a round after map one. Like I don't have much of this series. This was just a classic. Hey, we're FaZe. We have way more talent than you. We're gonna run at you. And Legion was like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. We can't beat you.
Yeah, it's just what you said basically.
Yeah, I
Temp
mean,
tried, but
talent differential on this one.
yeah, you need all four players to be doing good against FaZe at all times to win.
Yeah, you really can't have anybody lack it. I mean, Kleenex, I guess, lacked a little bit in that Ultra series, but like they have a lot more players to make up for it
Yeah,
than
they
the
have
side of
more talent,
Legion.
you would say.
All right. Then we had OpTic versus London. OpTic wins in a 3-2 fashion. Illy end this series with that collat snipe
Mm-hmm.
round 11.
Look
Positives and
like
negatives for both teams. We already talked London a little bit. I will say, we're trying to find out London's identity, and I still strongly believe OpTic's a very good team. And I think it's good to see London hang around with them to a map 5. They kind of got beat up a little bit in that map 5, but like they won 2 hard points off OpTic, a team that's never going to be easy to beat in hardpoint.
yeah, especially with that lineup they have.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of like the face thing. Like they have 4 players that can all run at you, and like they're going to talent diff you a lot of times.
Yeah,
We've talked about London enough. Like I'm impressed with them. In terms of OpTic, little concerning that they dropped 2 hard points, but I think they'll be fine in hardpoint. It's good to see them win through 2 searches and a control. Though it's not a typical fashion we see OpTic winning. They usually are at least winning 1 hard point. They're usually a more dominant respawn team that doesn't rely as much on search.
mm-hmm.
So I would say if you're an OpTic fan, you can look at that as a positive and say, hey, we didn't win a single hard point in the series and we still won it. Like we won through 2, 3, 5. Not a typical OpTic way to win.
It's not, but it gets the job done.
And I think it's positive. Like, hey, we don't usually win this way and we found a way to do it. We got to talk about Scump too. This guy's frying.
The best player on his team.
Yeah, it's not even a
Clearly.
question. I mean, Dashi, Illy, Shotzi, they're all fine today. They all play well. Shotzi was a damage dealer. But Scump, the man is cooking.
Yep. No slide cancel, and he's cooking.
Yeah, he's been cooking. He's been the best player, like you said. Not even up for debate. He's been the best player on their team. I think even in that Thieves series, he played pretty well. Yeah, he had a 1.04 overall in the Thieves series. Like, seemed like he was making crucial plays in the map.
Yeah.
He's been their best player this year, like you said, and it's cool to see. It's kind of outrageous to think that he's gonna hang up the sticks after the season, after we're watching him play so well. But
I know
that's what's happening. But Scump, he looked incredible. Hopefully, he can continue that on to LAN.
Well, I believe he will. We just need the other players just to step up.
Yeah. I mean, in Scump, we never really have an issue with him translating anything to LAN. I don't think we'll see OpTic have any issues translating to LAN.
Yeah.
All right. Then we had New York versus Boston, a 3-2 in favor of New York. So they go 2-0 on the week. Kind of impressive. Boston went 0-2 on the week overall. They ended up losing later to LAG. Hydra, pretty dominant in the series. Kismet, honestly, though, was the player of the series to me. Hydra, when you look at the numbers, was the best, but I don't know. I felt like Kismet was having more of an impact on the map, doing a little bit more of the dirty work. He was absolutely crucial. And the map one to me, obviously Hydra was as well. He was frying.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Kismet went pretty massive, I believe. Oh, was it this series? I can't remember. I believe it was in the control. He had a really, really nice play. I can't remember if it's this series or if I'm thinking of something else, though. Too many matches. It's all jumbling in my head.
Yeah, facts.
But Kismet played incredible, I thought, in this series. And New York is able to come out with the win 3-2. Impressive win for them because they obviously needed a couple wins to get back on track this week. And they beat Gorillas and Breach. Maybe not like signature wins, but I think two teams that are pretty solid. Like they're pretty good teams to beat. Pretty solid wins.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see Kismet actually doing pretty good.
Yeah,
he's the question mark of the team besides like a little bit of Priesta.
Yeah, and with Wardy sitting on the bench, it's kind of the storylines had themselves written. Like Kismet could easily be benched if he struggles, but he's been playing well so far.
It's great to see, honestly.
And a slight bounce back series from Priesta, we were kind of questioning him, but he played pretty well in the series as well.
Yeah, he did. It's not gonna be your best player, but he could be the second best.
And one thing I love to see, Vivid, 100 kills, 101 deaths. This guy was flying.
He's a run-in.
And like, it's not like his sub duo wasn't like really following him up. Nero also had 97 deaths, close to the same amount of deaths. He just wasn't getting the kills. He landed 78 kills, but he was getting in the engagements. I don't know. I usually run a sub when I play COD, but like as an AR player like Zinni, Vivid has got to just be like the best teammate.
Yeah, honestly, probably.
He's baiting for you. Yeah, I mean, he's baiting for you. He's running in first. He's just doing like everything, opening up the map, taking pressure off you because he'll hit everything out without hesitation. And like, you don't have to worry about like telling your sub to go or your sub playing too slow with Vivid because he's going to run and he's going to run at you. Sometimes it might get a little bit too much, but like, I love to see 100 and 101. I think the impact that Vivid had in the map, I think that's the reason why we saw Boston playing so well week one. And I think I think Boston has a chance to make a good run.
Definitely. I definitely think so too.
All right. Got Thieves, Florida. Maybe one of the big shockers, along with the first match on Sunday that we'll talk about in a minute here. But Thieves versus Florida, we talked about the talent diff. This would be another case that I would think Thieves should be able to just talent diff Florida. But Brack and Major Maniac, the ARs on Florida, came to play this series. They had the series. Octane kind of struggled in this one, and Florida is able to take out Thieves 3-1. They won 3 straight after losing the map 1. 6-5 were able to win around 11 in Search, a team that we said in the beginning of the year before the season, this team's going to have to make Search and destroy their backbone, and they're able to take out the Search. I mean, I think if they lose that Search, they probably get 3-0. I feel like they would have lost map 3.
Yeah, they probably lost full. But then they win it, like, oh, we can win this, guys. And then, never know what happens. They win it.
Yeah, and they're a team that, to me, like, I still think Florida bottom 4 team. I don't think they're that good, but their Search and Destroy is super solid right now. That, like, if they just are able to steal a map 1 off you, they didn't in this series, obviously, but they're a team that I feel like if they're able to steal a map 1 off you, things get really interesting because they're very good at Search. So if they take that map 1, all of a sudden they get up 2-0. Even if you're not the better team, like when you're up 2-0, chances are you're going to close out more of those series than not.
Yeah.
Thieves, though, a little shaky, and it's like, this is why this COD so far in this season has been so weird. Like, I'm like, Florida beat Thieves. I think Florida's one of maybe the bottom 3 teams, and like, what is wrong with Thieves? Like, they're not very good. Then they go out and beat OpTic later in the week. So like,
Yeah. Very, very creative from a lot of teams this week. Just lose
and
one game, then bounce back next game in a good way.
like, we're trying to have reactions to our thoughts in these teams, but like, it's so early in the year. We have so much more to learn. We're still learning stuff about the maps and how they play and the way teams play it. And like, teams are learning if they like 2 ARs or 3 ARs on a map, and we're GAing weapons left and right. And like, we're learning so much about maps, and like, we try to have a reaction to a team. We're like, man, are we ready to hit the panic button on Thieves? And they beat OpTic later in the week, who we think has a pretty good chance to win the major. So like,
Yeah.
we're gonna be flip flopping probably a lot on teams because we're just learning so much. It's not like football or something where like you can kind of see the eye test tells you a lot more right away. Like, you can pretty early on, at least,
Yeah.
after watching like a lot of football analysis, we can pretty early on tell after a few games if a team's good or not. And in COD, it's like one little switch can make or break a team, and like a team might look terrible for 2 weeks, and then at the major, maybe a team like LAG who's looked super shaky, all of a sudden it's going to figure out the major, finish top 3, and then roll the rest of the year. Like, in COD, it's just so up and down.
Yeah, especially last year, where the Thieves were, they had the struggles, and then they switched Kenny to the sub, and the back-to-back champions. Just
They're
like that.
mid, and then all of a sudden they're the best.
Yeah.
And that took, like you said, till basically the end of the year for them to become the best.
Yeah.
All right, then we probably had the shocker of the weekend, or one of them, I guess, with the other ones that we talked about to start the day on Sunday. Vegas took out the undefeated 3-0 Rocker at the time. Temp and
Jeez.
Clay, the AR duo, had themselves a series.
They definitely did.
They took both hard points and the search, so kind of nice to see them not do it through 3 respawns. But Temp, my man, was cooking again on the map 1. TJ, shout out to TJ.
He was cooking
4,000 damage. Yeah, 4,000 damage. Most kills, most damage in the lobby as a sub. I mean, TJ cooking him up. Cooked him up in the search as well.
Little War 2 vintage TJ there.
Yeah, and then Clay absolutely fried him and put him away. In the map 4. This was the series 2 where Clay got like an ace to close out the search and destroy with 3 snipes. Vegas showing some life though, huh?
They are. They're not out yet, even with all their struggles and all the turmoil supposedly that's in their camp.
Oh, and it was the first win since Major 2 of last year.
Yeah, they haven't won in a while, so gotta get the first one off. Gotta get the first one.
And they might end up finishing last this year again, but like, this is a different Vegas team. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, they're definitely,
I guess different Legion team, I should say.
Yeah,
they're better than years past, which isn't saying much. Like, couldn't get much worse.
Yeah.
So saying they're better doesn't mean they're good by any means, but like, they're a competitive team. Minnesota is a good team. Regardless of what you think of them, Minnesota is a good team. They're not an easy team to beat, and Vegas came out and they beat them, and they didn't look terrible. Like, Vegas is a competitive team. Picking Vegas this year in a match isn't wild. Like, last year, if you were picking Legion, it was considered like absurd. Like, clearly it was, because they didn't win in Major 3, Major 4. They didn't make champs. Like, clearly it was pretty insane to pick Vegas or Legion in those matches. And, especially with their group this time, like, say London wins over Thieves, it's like London, Vegas, Boston, and a challenger team in their group. It's not impossible that we could see Legion make it out. Last time at the Pro-Am, they made it out of their group.
Yeah, just one good day.
Yeah. Then we had Surge and Ultra match. Oh boy. Toronto continued their streak as, I think we would say, one of the favorites. Another rough series from CleanX though. Something to maybe keep our eye on. He had a rough weekend. Something to keep our eye on as we head to the major, where like, if CleanX steps it up with the way the rest of the guys are playing, they might be my favorite to win it.
Yeah, he had a rough weekend, but they're still winning.
Yeah. And then they win 3-1. So like, I don't know. This series to me is more about the Surge than the Ultra.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Ultra are very good. I think, like I said, one of the favorites to win the next major. Not a lot to take away from the series besides they beat a team that I would consider pretty solid, but one that they should beat. For Surge, though, man, they win the hard point and then they lose the search and things just kind of unravel for them. Like,
they can't get over the hump on search.
Yeah, and like, it's just so weird. Like, Sib goes 19-29 the map 1. Obviously, like I said, though, they had a little comeback. He was the guy, catalyst for the crucial 2-piece to basically win the map, and then can't get over the hump and search, Insight and Scrappy dominate them. I'm getting a little concerned about Surge and their search to destroy, like we said earlier, but not much other takeaways from this one besides Ultra are a top team right now, and Surge still
Ultra
have the
looking
talent,
good.
but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about them going into this first major.
Yeah, you think Surge, if they won the Search and Destroy, maybe 2-0, all you do win a hard point. But they lose it, and they're like, oh, maybe we're gonna lose this game.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. It's
Hard point
it's
close.
tough when you can
Both
have
hard
almost
points.
no faith in one of your game modes because, like, in some ways it starts to get in the back of the players' heads. I don't think that's happened yet. It's way too early for that to happen. Like, they've only played 4 or 5 search matches this year. Like, it's too
Yeah,
early for that to happen. But like, it's something that we got to keep our eye on.
it's gonna eventually happen if they keep losing.
Mm-hmm.
We need some accuracy to step it up. Tell the
Yeah,
guys what to do on Search, because that's what he is. That's what he
I
does.
it's a good. I feel like something could happen at the major where like they're struggling, they get down 0-1 in their first series, and then like something clicks, accuracy clutches like a 1v3 when it's 3-3.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden it's like a catalyst, boom, they win that search and they start rolling or something. Like I could see something like that happening with how talented they are in respawn.
Yeah, yeah, just that little switch.
Yep. Sometimes all it takes one random play just flips a tournament on its head. And you've heard players talk about that a million times.
Yep.
Then in this OpTic series, an odd series because I felt like OpTic was the better team for a lot of the series, but they lose it 3-1.
Yeah.
Close maps, except that map 4. OpTic won the map 1, obviously, where guess who again? Scump was piecing, Illy was piecing,
Scumper.
Shotzi and Dashy did their job. Then the search and destroy is where it all unraveled to me. OpTic was up 5-3, I believe.
Oh yeah, the 5 freakers.
Yeah. And they lose this one. I feel like once again, just like the series you talked about earlier, I can't remember which one. I feel like if OpTic wins this, maybe they don't 3-0, but I feel like they close the series out if they win that search.
Yeah.
And then they end up losing. They end up losing in a really close hotel, and then from there, I feel like they lost two close maps. It's like kind of their heads slightly out of it, and
Yeah,
Thieves is locked
buzzkill.
in from and Thieves is locked in from 2 really big tight wins, comeback wins, and then they close it out. But to me, this was 2 very good teams battling it out. I'm not crazy high on Thieves after beating OpTic, and I'm not crazy low on OpTic after losing Thieves. To me, that's what I expect the series from these 2 teams to be like: just crazy battles, comebacks, tough match. Because these are 2 very talented teams.
Yeah. It was honestly overall good. Good match.
Yeah.
It could gone either way. Like you said,
Yeah.
OpTic could have easily won it.
OpTic could have easily 3-0'd, and we could say the same for Thieves because they were close in that map 1 and had a couple good comebacks in the map 2 and 3 and everything. So I mean,
yeah, Octane struggled though again.
Yeah, and I guess on the side of Thieves, it's nice to see Envoy continuing picking up where he left off and Draza playing really well. It is a little concerning that Octane had another bad series and Kenny wasn't the best, but on the side of OpTic, good to see Dashy getting back to his 1.2 ways.
Oh yeah, you love
also,
to see it.
Good to see Illy playing so well. I believe Shotzi has COVID right now, or he's sick.
Yeah, he was like, again, he was sick for a couple weeks, I said, or something like that.
So like maybe could be affecting his play a little bit, but good to see Illy fry because I kind of feel like for this OpTic team, like, Scump's going to do his thing, especially this year. Shotzi's normally going to do his thing. Dashy's going to do his thing. Like, to me, this team goes from like great to like, or good to great when Illy's playing well.
Just like last year when they won it, Illy's playing real well.
Yeah, he's the X factor of the team. When he plays really well, this team becomes almost unstoppable.
Yep.
They go from being like a very good team that's going to win a lot of their series to an almost unstoppable force when Illy's playing well. He's kind of got a catalyst for the team.
Yeah, and Dashy just he always seems to fry control. That's his like game mode.
Yeah, sit back, look over a point, and mow him down.
Yeah, he's like always going. I don't think I ever seen him not get out of control.
Yeah. Final series, Brock. We had your boys LAG going up against Boston. They got stomped. And
they got world start on map 1.
250 to 69, probably the biggest margin we've seen. A clear 100-point club. They got stomped on the map 1, and then they won 3-1.
Yeah, then they
dominated
kept
the search and destroy. Vivid dropped a donut in map 2.
Was that the first donut in search?
I think so. I saw a picture of like Octane or Vivid joining Octane's donut shop.
Oh, I did see that.
Yeah, that was funny, but they got absolutely dominated in map 1, and I was like, well, here comes a quick 3-0 from Boston, and LG turned it on its head, and Neptune with a good series, Hook with a good series. Big Weight continues to fry for the side of Boston, but I like the composure out of LAG this series.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. After the first map, I'm like, well, it's gonna be a 30-minute game, 3-0, and then they, kept their composure,
Yep.
grinded it out. But I will say, what is it? Spart. He's gonna have to start going, doing better on some of these series, or else he might get the boot.
Yeah, it's kind of classic from him. Like he has flashes, and then like we see him get dropped, and at some point can't keep being flashed. It's got to become a little more consistent. But
Yeah.
the talent's there. It's just like I don't know. I feel like Neptune and Hook, talent wise, can be a very good sub duo. And like I always say, they play similar. They both play kind of rattier route man
Mm-hmm.
flank styles. And like I always say, if you're gonna have a route man flank style, just have two of them. Just have them play together. Have them play the same way.
Yep.
Um, Kind of how like Zuma and Attached always worked to me. Like Zuma was a slower like sub in terms of he wasn't always in your face. Like he played very very fast, but like he liked to hit routes and flank. And Attached was always a slower sub when they played together, so it just kind of worked. Like either of them was super in your face. Attached would like do his job and kind of like keep them distracted, while Zuma would hit a pinch, and like they
Yep.
worked so well together. I don't know. It's kind of why I think Simp and Abezy work so well together, because Abezy's so fast and Simp is pretty quick to follow him up. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather have your subs playing the same way together, and that's like kind of what we see with Neptune and Hook. They're both more ratty route men, and like
Mm-hmm.
Arcitys, we know what he brings. I don't know. Like I agree. We need to see Spart step up, because I feel like if this team had like an awakening,
Ooh.
like a slaying
Just
flex,
frying
ooh, like they would be really good. Like to me, Spart is a little bit maybe holding it back. Something
a
I
little
could
bit.
see maybe if
Yeah.
he struggles. I don't know. Well, this is way too early to talk about roster switches, but like if Spart would continue to struggle, like a Priesta
Mhm.
move to here could make sense. Like taking a shot at another guy with a lot of talent, because you might be able to get him on the cheap if he struggles some more. Like
Yeah.
sounds kind of weird. Like if he
Potentially
struggles again, like we're how many years into Priesta struggling now?
like 3.
Yeah, but like that talent's there. Like if you could just plug him in, and I don't know, something could click.
Just, yeah.
Or it could be Spart. Maybe Spart starts picking up. He drops consistent 1.1, and this team's top team.
Yeah. If he does a point, a consistent point, like 9, that'd be so much better.
Yeah, we just need to see a little more slang out of him, especially if he's going to be a second AR on the team.
Yeah. I think right now he's like, I looked up earlier, he's like the lowest KD in the CDL.
Yeah, got to see more out of him.
He's like 0.76 or something.
And yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, we got to see more out of him for his career wise too, because if it becomes his third stint where he gets moved to the bench pretty quick, it might be time might be up on him being in the CDL, because you can't get benched that many times in a row and be
Yeah.
called talented.
Keeps getting his number called. Eventually they're
Yeah.
gonna stop.
Well, I mean, clearly we know the talent's there. You don't win an MVP and win a major if you don't have the talent, though. Like it's there.
he misses the Volk.
Yeah, you just got to tap into it.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for matches on the weekend. We're going to jump into predictions for Major 1. Like we said, going to be a little different because we don't have an official bracket. It's like a bit of a odd format, because it's not our typical format. It's group
Mm-hmm.
stages, which we're used to from the CWL era, but
Yep.
not typical to the CDL. But we're going to look at each individual group. Obviously, we don't know what challenger teams makes it out. So we're going to basically, I think for when we pick what two teams we each think is going to make it out of a group, we're just going to pick between the 3 CDL teams, because like it's so hard to say like, hey, this challenger team's going to make it there, because like we said, we can't wait until the matches are done because of our situation this week.
Yep.
So like we're just going to pick 2 of the CDL teams to make it out. We'll do a brief challenger segment where we say which challenger team we think is most likely to make a run. Pick what 2 teams we think are going to make it out of each group. Maybe like the way we think they're going to make it out briefly. Then we're going to say who we got in the finals, who we have winning, MVP. Maybe if you have other teams you think are going to make a run to like top 4, but you didn't get to mention that. But first things first, Brock. What challenger team is going to make a run? I've got the rosters pulled up here.
What challenger team? Ooh.
To me, like, so admittedly, like I said, in terms of Latin America, APAC, I don't know a lot about those teams. So admittedly, I'm ignorant. Maybe one of those teams is the best challenger team there. I just know more of the names in the EU side. To me, when I
Mm-hmm.
look at the teams, the mostly French team with Brezzy, it's the only player I really know. I don't think I'm leaning towards that team. I like the Elevate team just because I know Vortex has been dominating challengers for years in the CDL era now. And they've got Harry and Gizmo both from London. Denz's name is always floating around.
Yeah. I
So
would probably say the LAG Academy team with like Seed Assault, DiamondCon and Joe Deceives.
That's a good one. I think they're pretty likely. I feel like they're one of the teams that will for sure make it into pool play. In terms of like 4 teams, I like that EU team with Gizmo and Harry.
I like the EU team, like Spanish team with Journey, Super, Yako, and Lucky.
In terms of the 4 teams I think are going to make it out, yeah, I'm going to say that Journey, Super, Yako, Lucky team makes it into pool. I think the Gizmo, Harry team, Vortex will make it in, and then I think Assault exceed that group, and I think Rocker Academy will be the other one. I think Fame, Goddard, Expander. A lot of experienced players there.
Those two, they've played for a while with each other.
In terms of, I think the team I am going to pick to make a run of one of the teams, if one were to make a run, would be Rocker Academy. Just because I like the experience on LAN. I think GodRX and Pander are a duo that's been around literally forever. Like I remember them playing together in World War II as a duo.
Yeah.
And they're both very good players. Real is supposed to be such a talented up-and-coming sub. And then I watched Fame in College COD, and also we saw him a lot on LAN. That guy is very talented.
Yeah, he likes to chirp.
Yeah, and he's a very good player. Like I like that team with Real and Fame are 2 subs that are known to be like people have their eye on them as some of the top talented challengers. So like with a sub duo like that, I don't know. That's typically a catalyst for a team to make a run, is that they have very talented subs. So I'm going to look at that team specifically and say, like, if I had to pick out a team, Rocker Academy is the one I think will make a run.
Yeah, I would definitely pick LAG.
Okay. So, I mean, I think those are probably the 2 most common picks, too. I think LAG and Rocker Academy are the 2 people are going to be picking.
Yeah, but I thought we can't sleep on this team on the bottom. What is it? D1 Gaming? LA? They got Legend. He might go crazy.
And like, I hope they do, because I would love to see a Latin America team, because they're the new ones to the party in terms of a challenger region. I would love to see them put them on the map so we can see some more talent coming out of that region
for them.
Because I mean, it's a pretty untapped region in terms of like we don't know a lot of players that have come from that region. So I'm all for a team just coming out and dominating and finishing top 4 or something and putting that region on the map so we can start to see more players. Because if we're pulling from more and more talent pools all over the world, we're just going to continue to raise the level of play we see in the league.
Yep. And it's good for the league too.
All right. And I'm sure in terms of Latin America too, there's a ton of viewership to be pulled from there as well. So if they have a challenger team dominating, they're going to show some support. That's one thing we know about that part of the world, is they are supportive. So
yes, they are.
We'd like to see Latin America come out, and I'd like to see them make it out of groups personally. But problem is, it's hard for me to pick them because I just don't know much about that team.
Yeah.
All right. Let's go to the brackets. First of all, we agreed before the podcast for the tiebreaker, LA Thieves versus London. Since, like we said, we can't wait for the match to be over with our situation, we're going to pick LAT to win that tiebreaker. Yep. So they're going to go to the Boston Vegas group for our picks, and Ravens are going to go to the Seattle and Faze group. So hopefully that's the way it works out in terms of our predictions. But if it doesn't, super unfortunate. Just obviously, normally we would just do an episode where we reacted this week and then we talked about predictions like we do it Wednesday night. We just do a double episode this week, but unfortunately, it's not the way it's going to work, because I'm not going to really have a PC for the rest of the week following today.
Yeah, it's a little hard to do in our circumstance.
Yeah, so we got the groups here. Let's start with Group A. That one we know for sure. It's Rocker, Gorilla, Subliners, and then a Challengers team. Challengers number 4, which will be the 4th seed. The 4th seeded Challengers team to make it out of the groups. Who we got in this one? Like we said, we predicted like the Challengers team we think can make a run, just so that we have like that out there of who we think. But we're basically going to be picking between the 3 teams, since we can't wait to see what Challengers teams make it out. So we're going to be picking between the 3 CDL teams.
I'm going to guess that Rocker does not choke against the 4 seed Challengers teams. So I'm going to pick them to go through.
Yeah. And then this is like, it's kind of, if you remember, it's kind of like the home series, like the way the bracket is. Basically, like Rocker plays the Challengers team since they're the top seed in the bracket. Gorillas and Subliners play each other. The winner of those 2 matches play each other to see who makes it out of the group as the 1st seed. And then basically, if you lose, you go down to a loser's bracket. So like the losers of the first 2 matches go down, play each other. One of them's eliminated. And then the winner of that elimination match plays a loser of the qualifier match. And then it's kind of confusing to hear, but like when you see a bracket, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you're saying Minnesota's going to take out the Challengers team. Then it's Gorilla, Subliners.
I'm going to take the Subliners honestly.
Okay, those are your two teams you have making it out.
To make it out, no.
Oh, you think Gorilla's going to clutch up?
I think the Gorillas will lose the first game, and then they seem to lose the first game, then bounce back.
Okay.
So they lose first game, bounce back, they make it out with the
I
Rocker.
actually fully agree with you on this. I actually think that Rocker is going to roll. I think they're going to beat the Challengers team. I think they're going to beat Subliners in their second match, make it out. Then I think Subliners and Gorillas will play in the qualifier round again on the bottom to make it out. And I think Gorillas will take them out the second time. I think it's going to be Rocker and Gorillas out of this group.
Yeah.
I don't love the pick because I do think Subliners are a more talented team, but I don't know. I think Arcitys, Hook, I think this is a pretty good veteran team on land. New York's maybe a little newer together. And I don't know. I just like this Gorillas team. I think they have a little bit of an it factor to them. I think they're going to make it out of their group.
Yes.
So we agree on that one.
Yep.
Then we go over to Group B, another group that we know for sure. We got Toronto, the third seed from the Challengers bracket, OpTic and Mutineers. Brock OpTic's playing Florida on land. We know that wasn't very kind of them last year.
They might be shaking a little bit.
Are they going to sub in Dave Petty?
If they sub in Dave Petty, I'm taking Florida all the way.
Yeah, it's a little nerve wracking though. I know it's completely different teams, but like Florida's had OpTic's number on land.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna take Toronto Ultra against that Challenger team. Whoever is the third one.
I agree.
Against the Rocker Academy. Actually, no. Yeah, whoever it was. Doesn't matter. And
I agree. I would take Toronto to win. Who are your two teams you got coming out?
Two teams coming out. OpTic, Toronto.
I agree. I feel like that's what everybody's going to pick out of this bracket. It seems so obvious because, like, I think a lot of us believe Ultra's one of the favorites. I think a lot of us also believe OpTic's one of the favorites to win this.
Yeah.
In Florida, we view as a bottom team, so it makes all too much sense. But seeing that it makes so much sense probably means Florida is going to make it out, and one of these two teams isn't.
Yeah, that's how the cookie crumbles. Sometimes it feels like.
I mean, it seems so obvious that OpTic and Ultra are going to make it out that the Challengers team in Florida will probably end up making it out.
Yeah. Who knows? But Florida, it'll be very competitive for them though this weekend.
I do think OpTic's going to come out of this as the 1 seed though. I think OpTic's going to beat Mutineers and then beat Ultra and come out of this group in the 1 seed. And then I think we're going to see Ultra come out of the lower section and qualify as a 2nd seed. But I agree. Once again, I think Ultra and OpTic come out of this one.
Yeah. I actually agree with that too.
I think OpTic's going to come out as 1 seed, Ultra 2.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in lockstep here. We pretty much agree on what's going to happen so far. Then we've got the third group where things get a little interesting because we don't actually officially know it yet. It's Faze, the 2nd seed from Challengers, Surge, and then the loser of LAT London, which for our sake of making the predictions, we're going to say is London. Here. I feel like,
Faze, obviously.
I'm picking Faze come out as the first seed of this group because I think London and Surge are two teams I don't have a lot of faith in, and a Challengers team, I'm going to take Faze over them. So I'm taking Faze to come out and sweep it out of here and go as the 1 seed from this group.
Yeah,
although
me
they
too.
Against Surge historically, so hey, you never know.
I'm still taking Faze first.
Yeah, this is
Surge
second. This is where it gets a little interesting. You're taking Surge. Oh, this is tough. I mean, everybody
I'm gonna take Surge, honestly.
Taking them to come out 2 seed then.
Yeah, it's so much talent.
Everybody knows like how I feel about Surge. I have like so much faith in them, and like it feels like a toxic relationship now at this point because like my faith hasn't wavered in them at all, even though they've sucked. And like I'm a little nervous for their search and destroy, especially if LAT ends up being the one that actually comes into this group. I think Thieves will probably come out of it with Faze. But we're saying London's in here. Ah, man. I'm going to agree. I'm going to say Faze comes out as the first seed and Surge comes out as second, but I don't feel like the other ones I felt pretty good about. I was a little shaky maybe on LAG, but I'm not very confident in this one. I do think there's a very, very realistic possibility London comes out. I also think that depending on the Challenger team that gets placed in here, I think this is a spot where I could see a Challenger team making it out.
Oh, yeah.
If it's London, like Surge and London are both shaky. Like if there's a hot Challengers team that comes in here, I could see a world where they make it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I would take a Surge to potentially make it out as number 1 if their Surge wasn't so bad.
Yeah, because they tend to play pretty well against Faze.
Yeah.
I agree though. I am going to go with Surge and Faze, but it's shaky to me. I really could see any of the other three options, including the Challengers team, coming out. I just for sure have Faze.
Mm-hmm.
Then last thing we've got, last group D, is the Boston versus the first seed from Challengers, and then Legion versus either LAT or London, which in this case we're saying LAT beat London. So LAT versus Legion. Boy,
LAT.
you got LAT coming out as one seed.
Yeah.
And
Who
then who
who
you
who
got?
is the first seed challengers that goes in here actually?
I think it. I think they have like a bracket that they're gonna play, and I'm assuming it's like whatever team comes out on the top. Like I think it's kind of like this. It's like there'll be a clear first through fourth seed. That, or I'm
Okay.
assuming it's like the highest seed team based on like what is it called? I can't even think of what's called now. Challenger points. What is it called?
Pro point?
Pro points. Yeah. Um, I think maybe it'll be like the four teams that make it out, highest pro points to seed one. Maybe I'm not exactly sure how the seeding is gonna work.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna take that first seed challengers team to make it out with LAT.
Oh, you're taking the Challengers team to be second seed and Thieves to be first seed.
Yeah, I'm taking the challengers team.
I'm going a
Which
completely different route. I'm taking Boston one seed.
oh,
I think Boston's going to handle the Challengers team, and I think they're going to play Thieves, and I think they're going to handle Thieves. I think they're going to like 3-1, kind of stomp them a little bit. I like this Boston team. I think they're going to have a good weekend. I'm spoiler alert. I'm not taking them to win it, but I think Boston's going to finish top three. I think
that is
top
definitely
three, maybe top four. Maybe top four because there's another team I like to finish third. So I'm gonna say top four because there's another team that I like to finish
for Boston.
third. But I'm gonna say they make a top four. I think they get out of this one seed, and I'm gonna pick Thieves to get out two, just because I just it's weird to imagine a world where Thieves doesn't make it out of their group. But like, I don't hate Vegas as a dark horse. I don't hate the first seed. I think this might be the most interesting group. I thought it was kind of gonna be boring. But I think this maybe, really, regardless of who it is, LAT or London, I think this is maybe the most interesting group to me.
Definitely.
Because Boston are the one seed in it, but like they're definitely not like a locked, super strong team. Thieves in London, like we think that they're pretty good, but they've been inconsistent. In Vegas, they're not your usual Legion. They're actually competitive, and then they also get what will ideally be the best Challengers team coming into this one.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one, though. We
I
differed on
yeah,
that, though.
I'm gonna take the LAT first, and then what I think will be LAG Academy to come in this group. What I think.
Okay, I like it. All right. Then we got all of our teams that we believe are coming out. We're pretty much the same. Mostly, we have most of the same teams. Um, let's say what two teams we got in the finals. Obviously, we don't want to predict a full bracket. It's pretty interesting how the bracket shakes out. We don't have the interactive bracket to just go along with who you have in the finals and who you got winning. You want me to go first, or you go first?
Uh, you can go first.
All right. I've got a rematch of a match we saw this past weekend. I've got Toronto and Faze in the finals.
Ooh.
I think Faze are going to put it together and make a good run at this tournament. I think Toronto looks really strong. I'm going to go bold. Normally, I would always play safe and pick Faze. I'm going to pick Toronto. I think Toronto wins this weekend. I think Scrappy gets his first event win in his first event as a pro. Kind of starting a little story, starting his little aches story arc. He seems to be trying to go on, becoming like a trash talking villain.
Yeah.
And I think Faze are just a not the hardest pick to make, because they're Faze. Like, I think Simp, Abezy, Cellium are going to figure it out on LAN. So I got Toronto over Faze in a final, a close one. I think Toronto takes them out. Maybe after you make yours, we can talk about who we think is going to be the other two top four teams.
Honestly, when you first told me that question, I was low key thinking a little bit Toronto, but I'm not gonna pick them. I'm gonna go an easier route, more boring route, you would say. I'm gonna go OpTic in the final with LA Thieves.
Okay, that'll be a very highly viewed final if that happens.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that.
Okay, I don't mind it. Who you got winning it?
Oh, I'm gonna go the opposite route of what usually happens. I'm gonna go with the LA Thieves first one.
You think they're gonna go basically a three-peat almost?
Yeah. OpTic won last year first, and then they fell off the face of the earth basically after that and the alien injury.
Okay, you got Thieves winning. I like it because they're probably not a super common pick. Like they're coming in as like a middle of the pack seed. Weren't
hmm
too crazy, but they are coming off a win against OpTic. I don't mind it though. They have the talent to do it for sure.
Yeah, definitely have their flaws, but I think on land, I should say, Octane plays a lot better. He's more into it. Seems
100%.
like.
Yeah, 100%. Veteran players like that always seem to play better on land. Not, I honestly don't think it's because of the experience that much. I think it's because like what you said, they're just like so over the BS of online that they just want to get
Yeah,
to land and do their thing, and they're more focused. I 100% agree.
that's what feels like to me with Dashy 2 a lot of times.
A little more locked in.
Yeah, but locked in on land, like online, just kind of whatever. We lose, we lose.
Teej was always a player like that to me too when he was playing well.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
online, I was just like whatever, and then like get to land, Teej became a different animal earlier on in his career.
Yeah, it's not like you. It's like you're not trying. You're just like so over. It's
You're
like
just more locked in. Like the crowd's into it. Like
yeah,
you know directly that you can see the trophy in front of you and the money on the line. Like it's a little
yeah.
more tangible, that
You,
situation.
you you know what time it is basically.
Yeah. So interesting though. We have completely different finals, 4 different teams. Who's your teams? Who you got? Like you don't have to say who's third, who's fourth, but who do you have rounding out your top 4?
mm,
I was thinking maybe you'd take my teams I had in the finals out because I feel like Toronto and FaZe are not bad picks. Just round out the top 4.
Rocker, Rocker phase probably more likely.
Okay, so you don't think Toronto's going to finish top 4? I got them winning.
I know.
Interestingly enough, I don't think Thieves is going to finish top 4, and you've got them winning. I completely kind of forgot about Rocker for a second here. I like them. Man, this is tough because I like Rocker to be a team to finish top 4. I like Thieves to be a team to finish top 4. But the 2 teams I'm going to say in order. I'll say it. I think OpTic's going to take third. I think we'll have Boston in fourth.
Okay.
I like Boston to come out and have a strong weekend, but like I said, Rocker, Thieves, I think they could both be in the running for that. Probably a couple other teams not thinking of. Even New York can maybe make a run to that. I could see LAG making a run. Like I could see almost every team just because of everybody's 2-2 basically right now.
Yeah.
And one of our 3-1 teams lost to Vegas.
Yeah. So it's
Like,
it's basically a toss up.
and one of our 1-3 teams is Florida, who's extremely good at search, which we know can be a recipe for success, aka LAG in Major 2. And then one of our other 1-3 teams is Surge, who I think has immense talent. So like everything's a toss up. Who knows? Maybe a challenger team will win it all.
That'd be just the way to
Kind
do
of
it.
wild
Honestly,
though.
throughout
Like
the year.
kind of wild that both of us have completely different finals, and both of our winners, the other person doesn't have in their top 4.
hmm
Just shows
Yeah.
what state we're in right now and how like normally we get like 3 weeks of matches and we get 5 matches. This time we got 2 weeks and only 4 matches, and it's only like a month and a half after the game drops. So we are in a state of chaos.
Yep.
We don't know what's going to happen, which is probably going to make this weekend a lot of fun.
Hopefully. Honestly, it would just be the chair and top if the challenge team did win the first.
Oh, I'd like to
First
see
event.
a challengers team at least make a run, like a top 6 or something.
hmm
I'd like to see them make a run because that'll. I hope challengers teams make a run and it makes it like the most exciting CDL tournament we've had, like of the CDL era, so they can start to consider the possibility of what it would look like to have more majors involving challengers players and open brackets and stuff.
Yeah.
It's just better. It's how the CDL or CWL used to be, and it was better.
Yeah, and the expansion maybe.
Yeah, I mean, damn it, we should be getting expansion 3 years ago, 2 years ago, last year, this year. Like we
Who
need
knows?
expansion. Like we need 4 more teams to make it 16, so we can have pool play at
Yep.
every tournament. Because if we could have pool play at every tournament, like regardless of if they do it like this, I'd prefer if they did it the classic way where every team and each pool plays each other, and then like the top 2 make it out of their group into winners, and maybe the bottom 2 make it out in losers.
hmm
I would personally like if that was the case, but who knows if we'll ever get there. I almost forgot though. Last thing, MVP. Who you got? So obviously you'd have to pick somebody from LA Thieves because you have the winning, and I'd have to pick somebody from Toronto.
Yep. I'm going with Dylan Envoy. Dude's been
Makes sense.
frying.
Yeah, has been frying. And their last 2 MVPs were Kenny in both events, so it feels like unless Kenny goes absolutely ballistic, they're going to want to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. I think we're going to have, if Toronto is to win, I think we're going to have a little bit of a ASIM and Spart situation from last year. I believe Asim deserved Major 2 MVP, but the story was like Spart's like first tournament. Like,
Too good to be
how
true.
how can you not give him MVP? I kind of think it was the case last year. I think it's gonna be something similar. I think Standy is gonna be the catalyst. I think he's gonna be the best player on the team this weekend. I think he probably deserve MVP, but it's gonna be too good of a story that Scrappy wins an event, and I think he's gonna play very well. So like, I think he's gonna be like in the conversation for it. But I think Standy, maybe even Kleenex, I think is gonna actually be the best player on the team, one of the subs, and they're gonna dominate. But I think Scrappy, wild pick, I know because it's his first event basically, but I think he's gonna win MVP because unless he has stats clearly way worse than somebody else in his team, it's probably gonna be like a great story for them to give it to him, a rookie winning MVP, kind of like Spart. So I think it's gonna end up being Scrappy if Toronto is able to take it.
That is definitely plausible.
Yeah, I mean, I hope one of the finals that we predicted happens because LAT OpTic is going to be very entertaining for obvious reasons, and I think Toronto Faze would also be very entertaining.
I wonder if let's say if Toronto does get to the finals, is Scrappy chirping still in the finals?
Finals? He'll be chirping. I was listening to like Stay Attached podcast. Like, I don't know if I ever finished the episode, but like I was listening to it in the car one day on the way home from work, and like he was basically talking about like how he'll trash talk. It doesn't matter if he loses; he doesn't care. He'll trash talk the next series because like he's like, I'm just doing it for fun. I don't care if I lose and you talk trash to me. Like, I'm gonna do it every series and never stop. So like, I think he'll be talking trash regardless.
Okay, that's good. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I think guys trying to become the new era, the new age Hecz. Basically, what it sounds like. Which I'm for it. We need guys like that. Hecz made the scene. He's like my favorite player, one of my favorite players of all time. Like he made the scene entertaining. We need more of that. We need more trash talking and just more entertainment.
Makes for great storylines.
100%. All right. You got anything else before we wrap this one up?
Not really. Besides, I would have picked Doug's team to win the whole thing if they're in it, but they're not in it this weekend. Unlucky.
Yeah. Yep, I fully agree. And my last thought is I hope we see a Challengers team make a run.
Yeah, that'd be very cool to see, honestly.
Yeah. All right. If you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. If you're on the audio platforms, drop a follow, drop a 5-star review. We're so close. If you guys are still listening here, drop a sub if you are new and you're not subscribed if you enjoyed, because we're 2 away as we started recording this from 800 subs. So that'd be a cool milestone to hit ahead of the major here and keep our momentum rolling on the road to 1,000. So like I said, if you guys enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us down below who you think's winning the major. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree? Do you have somebody completely different winning? I think there are a lot of realistic possibilities to win this one, so I wanna hear what you guys think. So we will see you in the next one. I hope you guys enjoy watching the major. Going to be a busy weekend for both Brock and I, but I'll for sure be able to catch all of Sunday. So I'm looking forward to just chilling, watching that, and hopefully seeing some good COD, a good grand final. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.